Good evening. Another large-scale shooting overnight in Denver. Police said 6 people total shot. 2 were killed in the gunfire. 4 more were injured. Police say this happened in northeast Denver early this morning in the Green Valley Ranch neighborhood. Our Janelle Finch is in that neighborhood tonight talking to people who live nearby, and there's still a large scene taped off at this hour. Janelle, what have you learned this afternoon?
Jenny, we've been out here since about 10:30 this morning, and the scene has been relatively quiet with a couple investigators just going door to door trying to figure out what exactly happened here. We did learn from Denver police that the 2 people who were killed in the shooting earlier this morning were 2 men, 1 adult and 1 juvenile. Police also do not believe this was a random shooting. Ring camera footage from a nearby home captured gunshots on North Orleans Court around 1:20 a.m. Denver police received a call to respond. As the sun came up, shell casings were found littered on the street, leading to several people waking up to find themselves in the middle of a crime scene. DPD said officers found 6 victims. DPD confirmed 2 of the victims had died, 1 adult man and 1 person younger than 18. Officers weren't able to confirm the conditions of other injuries. The neighbor who shared that Ring camera video with us says he came home just a few hours after the shooting. He says he found his home taped off and police told him to park on another street. He says he felt like he couldn't leave all day because of the active investigation just steps away. Denver police investigators spent the morning hours after the shooting with metal detectors and cameras processing the scene. There is still a lot we don't know at this hour, like what these people were doing here on this street and what exactly led up to this shooting. This is a relatively quiet neighborhood, as we're told from nearby homeowners, so any sort of police presence is going to garner a lot of attention and, of course, a lot of questions from the community. Jenny?
Certainly quite a few questions still. Janelle, thank you for your reporting. Let's turn our attention now to the other big story of this weekend, the weather. And for some, this afternoon's pretty foggy. You are sort of looking, what you can see here, at Broomfield near the Rocky Mountain Metro Airport. Very bad visibility there right now, as well as the North Arvada area. Even with that fog, what a difference 24 hours makes. Here's a live lookout over Greeley this evening. Sun melted away a lot of that wet, slushy snow that fell yesterday. But you know the drill. Whatever the sun doesn't melt on the sidewalk is up to you to shovel. We saw plenty of people out knocking that chore out today, and extra hard workout too because of just how wet and heavy this snowfall was. Be careful, the experts say this is the kind of heavy shoveling that can really hurt you, even tax your heart if you don't take it slow. One family near Wash Park in Denver got a little help from their littlest ones.
We shovel the sidewalk so people don't slip and hurt themselves. We shovel so it doesn't turn to ice and later on cause problems and cracks in the sidewalk.
And those kids celebrated all their hard work with a snowball fight. How appropriate, Corey. This is probably pretty good snow for snowballs, too.
Perfect snow for snowballs. You know, both my kiddos were sick this morning, so I had to do all the work myself, and my back is definitely feeling it. It was definitely a slushy storm for sure, even in the parts of the foothills. Take a look at these numbers. These are the results from the slushy storm. This is the snow results, and these numbers are actually pretty normal. If you look at it through history, these numbers wouldn't even make the top 50 biggest February storms, but you add in the rain and total precipitation, this ends up being a historic February storm. Boulder, Fort Collins, Arvada, a lot of the west side broke records as far as total precipitation. A little bit more than a 1/4 inch in Denver was the 6th wettest February storm in that history, and that record goes back almost 150 years. Right now, it's 35 degrees at Denver International Airport. You see some of that snow for 3 to 6 inches from the downtown area is kind of melted off today, but that's the difference between this storm and a true March storm, is it's not going to melt off as fast as it would in March. Now, here's your Denver forecast going through the night, and because of that snow cover and the clear skies, we're looking at a pretty cold night here, and it's going to drop as soon as the sun goes down, maybe below freezing, somewhere around 8 o'clock tonight, and it's going to drop down to the low 20s for us here for most of us in Denver. So we'll be watching for slick spots, that refreezing, and another possible foggy morning coming your way. We'll be talking about that and a little bit more in the full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Corey, thank you. There have been some road closures off and on this weekend, thanks to all those Really, really heavy snowfall, dangerous conditions. I-70 East is now back open. There was a crash this morning at the Lookout Mountain exit. Road closures on I-70 often send drivers through Silverthorn, something that town just really can't handle. This week, town leaders are planning to talk to CDOT about some potential solutions. You might remember MLK Junior Weekend when people were getting stuck up there while Berthoud Pass was closed. What should have been a 10-minute drive through the town took people 3 hours. And you can understand why that made town leaders nervous about what would happen if emergency responders were trying to get around in case of an emergency. Silverthorn leaders are now trying to find a solution.
Emergency situations, speed is critical. And so how do we keep our roads open enough that they can have that speed to get to those incidents? And it may take some kind of metering like you would see on I-70 or on an on-ramp where people coming into the community are metered so that we can stay safe.
The town's also hoping to come up with a warning system to alert people in Steamboat, Granby, Winter Park, any of those places, if they have road closures and what those drive times would be. This week, the Supreme Court will hear arguments in the case over whether former President Trump can be on Colorado's primary ballot. Justices will consider a constitutional provision, part of the 14th Amendment, that was adopted after the Civil War that would prevent people who formerly held office who engaged in insurrection from being able to serve in office again. Colorado's highest court ruled Trump did participate in an insurrection, and they disqualified him from the primary ballot here. Trump's lawyers say he did not engage in an insurrection and should be allowed on that ballot. Again, Supreme Court's going to weigh in on this. Colorado's primary election is March 5th. The EPA has now ordered the demolition of the Return to Nature funeral home, where dozens of bodies were found improperly stored in Penrose, Colorado. Well, about 30 miles away, now Pueblo is asking the public if they would allow the debris to go to their landfill. The EPA plans to start demolition at the end of this month, lasting about 10 days if the weather cooperates. That funeral home was so contaminated, they're going to get rid of the soil underneath that building as well. Pueblo's now asking its population for some feedback on whether that debris can get disposed at their city's Southside landfill. They're taking questions and comments through Tuesday. There's a dog in Keystone now recovering after being attacked by a mountain lion this week. This happened near the home of Shannon and Sean Leach, who live on the edge of Keystone Ranch Golf Course. They let their dog Fergus out for a little potty break when a mountain lion snatched him from their backyard. A couple raced through heavy snow, found him laying on the ground with the mountain lion just feet away. Shannon tried to shoot the mountain lion, but it took off, and the couple rescued their dog Fergus. Everyone's pretty shaken up by it all.
Now I'm afraid to go out at dark. I don't want to go into the backyard. As we take him out for his nightly pee break, we take him in the front yard. Shannon has ordered big headlights for us for our foreheads. We've got great light. Even so, I'm very uncomfortable in the dark outside now. I don't like it.
Poor Fergus lost an eye during his fight with the mountain lion, but his family says he's still friendly to just about everyone. The police department in Golden tried something new last year, and this week they're ready to explain what they've learned from their pilot project of a 4-day, 32-hour work week. This pilot started last summer. Golden wanted to see if working fewer days and hours while keeping the same benefits would help them retain more employees. Well, a few months into the pilot last year, Golden said it was going pretty well. They were saving on overtime costs, seeing fewer resignations, and generally responding faster to calls. The city will now give a full update of the pilot during Thursday night's city council meeting. This week, more than 80 dogs will now be up for adoption. This was after they were rescued from an unlicensed pet facility in Lyons. The person who rents that property got an eviction notice and didn't show up for a hearing. The state removed 82 dogs from that 2-acre property in Lyons. The man who rents that property owned it as part of Just for Jack's Ranch and Sanctuary, but didn't have a license. State requires one for anybody who has more than 15 dogs or cats. Court records show that renter failed multiple inspections. The landlord filed to evict him for owing thousands of dollars in rent. He didn't show up for his hearing last week. So Northern Colorado Humane removed the dogs the next day and said those animals do appear to be healthy and well socialized.
I think their stress levels are coming down. They are calm. They're not pacing in their kennels. Most of them are sleeping quite a bit, which says to me that they were in a situation of fairly high stress, and they're now getting a chance to relax.
The dogs will be ready for adoptions after NOCO Humane completes medical and behavioral checks. They're going to a variety of shelters all around the state of Colorado. That renter is still trying to get the dogs back. Keep an eye out this week if you're on the west side of town. More closures scheduled for the westbound C470 bridge over I-70 West. CDOT's replacing 3 beams after a tractor trailer tried to drive underneath that bridge back in December and got stuck. CDOT's planning overnight closures on that part of I-70 starting tonight. And tomorrow, RTD's trains at Union Station should be back to normal. Maintenance work this weekend affected the A, the B, the G, and the N lines. A line, that's the one out to the airport. There are some buses to help fill those gaps in the meantime.